What's going on, everybody? I am here to do a review for the movie King Richard. This right here was one of my most anticipated movies of 2021 when I first learned about it about a year or so ago, or maybe over a year ago, when I found out they were making a movie about Richard Williams, who was the father to Venus and Serena Williams. And I got excited when I learned they were making a movie about this man, because this man deserves all of his flowers. And one thing that I'm glad about is that he's still alive today. And, I'm sure he was able to see the film as well. And let me tell you right now, I know many people, including myself, aren't all over the whole awards and everything like that. But I'm going to just put it out there. If the people over the Academy do not see the performance that Will Smith gave in this role, well, I would just say that they're flat out dumb. But it is what it is. But I truly believe that this is the year, and this is the movie, that Will Smith is not only going to get nominated, but also going to win. Like, I have the hugest prediction, and I'm calling it now, that he's going to win Best Lead Actor in a sweep this upcoming award season. I have a strong feeling just based on his performance, because this hands down has to be one of Will Smith's best performances of his career. One thing I can give Will Smith credit for, if I couldn't give him credit for anything else, is that 9 times out of 10, he's going to do very well in biopic roles. It's kind of iffy with the concussion one. People wasn't really feeling that one so much. But when he did stuff like Ali, The Pursuit of Happiness, and now this, which all 3 of these movies were about 3 Black phenomenal men who made strides in their careers and in history, whether big or small, he managed to knock it out of the park in every single role that he did. And ironically, 2 of those he did get nominated. And I think he's going to get nominated for this one, and he probably will win, because there's a lot of people saying this might be the one. This could be the one, but I don't want to jump the gun and say if it is or if it isn't, because we already know how this kind of stuff goes. But anyway, so this movie is pretty self-explanatory. It's a biopic. It's about Richard Williams, who, of course, is Venus and Serena Williams' dad, tennis extraordinaires, world-renowned, GOATs, however you want to place them. A man from Shreveport, Louisiana, moved to Compton, got married, had basically mainly daughters, until we find out something later in the movie that I didn't even know. But, it is what it is. And, he lives in this rather small house. He works as security at night, while during the day he's training his daughters in order to become great tennis stars. And what I really liked about Richard Williams is that he wanted more for his kids. He did not want them to be or live the life that he lived, or have just a regular life. He wanted something extraordinary for his kids. He even said that he even had a 70+ page plan written out for his children, well, preferably for his daughters, Venus and Serena, since they were born. Like, he literally did everything that he could to make sure that his daughters were able to achieve greatness. And one thing I liked about this movie, and it's something that a lot of movies have been lacking, is showing that strong, masculine Black father figure that doesn't play the stereotype in a lot of movies that we've seen over the time. This is like a pinnacle role right here. So if you are a person that has your dad in your life, this is a good movie right here. If you are a woman, you have your dad in your life, to take them to go see this movie. If you are a father to daughters, this is a good movie to go take them to see. That way you can see the parallel there. You can see this is what a father does and what he sacrifices in order to go and above and beyond in order to support his daughter's dreams. At first, I've always heard stories about Richard Williams. I heard some people even compare him to be like the Joe Jackson of tennis stars. Joe Jackson with the Jackson family, and Richard Williams, and I've heard stories about him. But the thing about it is, he had to be hard on them, because he knew where they lived. They lived in Compton, and at that time in Compton was a rough place to grow up in. We've seen it depicted in movies, but it was also depicted in real life. And that's just how it was. And he had to make sure that his daughters had the best life possible. And one of the ways he could figure out how to do it is through tennis, which is something that at the time, there wasn't a lot of Black faces in tennis. There were a lot of white faces, whether they were man or woman. And, when Venus and Serena hit the scene, it pretty much took off like a rocket after that. And it's crazy, even to this day, there still isn't a lot of black faces, man or woman, in tennis. You know, we got Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff, but that's just with two more right there. And both of them, no disrespect, but both of them are female. So it's very rare that you actually see a black male playing in tennis. Not saying that there aren't, but they really aren't put out there like that. So tennis at its core is still very much a very PC sport. And that's what Richard Williams wanted to do in order to make sure that his daughters progressed. One thing I did not know about Richard Williams is that this guy had a level of sarcasm and jokes for days. Like, a lot of the things that he was saying in this movie, outside of the times when he was being serious in tone, made me actually, in the audience that was watching it, actually laugh. It was one part that made me really laugh. Like, I couldn't hold back that laugh. And it was a part where he was meeting with some agents or something like that to get a deal made for Venus. And he just basically said, you know, what it was, and he didn't believe it. He thought it was BS. And when they tried to give him the offer right there at the table when they're talking, because they were at a country club, he just farted right in the chair and got up and walked away. When I tell you, everybody, including myself in the audience, bust out into laughter, almost bust out into tears from laughing so hard at that part, because that was so random. And you know, you don't expect that from him. But one thing I definitely give props to Richard Williams on as a man is that he did not take any BS. Like, he was one of them people that did not take any first offers that came his way when it came to the benefit of his daughters, because he already knew how this thing worked. He knows that they're going to give him one deal and it's going to sound like the sweetheart deal. And he knew that the sweetheart deal will probably fall apart and it would turn into a fiasco. And that's one thing he had to be sure of. And that's how some people try to make it seem like he was a stern, hard ass, you know, when it came to not only his daughters, but how he ran the brand. And you have to understand that he did not want his daughters to be taken advantage of, because you got to think Venus and Serena were only, 12 and 14 at the time. So they are young, they're minors. You know, minors, though, a lot of them will say yes to just about anything. But, you know, as long as he was there, he was almost like a helicopter dad, but in a good way. And, you know, as kids, you probably don't appreciate it, but when you get older, then you'll understand exactly why it is that your parent did what he did or did what they did in order for you to thrive and pursue greatness. So he literally hit it out the park as far as being a good father, a great father, if you ask me, to his daughters. It was even a scene in the movie where one of the annoying neighbors from across the street actually called the cops on him and his wife because they felt that they were not so much disciplining their daughters, but not raising them right, quote unquote, because she felt they were being too hard on her and hard on them and whatnot, and almost like they was going to arrest them and take them away or something like that. And then when his wife went over and confronted the neighbor about it, she basically said a couple of words to her, and she said, basically, don't make me have to come back over here. And I think she was just upset because I think that neighbor could not get a grasp or get a hold onto her own children. Like, her own children were kind of like out there like that. And she was probably jealous that Richard Williams and his wife were able to contain some discipline with their daughters. And mind you, they had 5 daughters. And this neighbor, who was clearly hating, only had one daughter that she couldn't control, or not so much control, but keep a level balance or a level head on. She was just out there. And I think that's why she was upset about it. So I really did like that scene. But all the actors, I know I'm really talking about Richard Williams, but all the actors did a real good job. Shout out to Anjanae Ellis. She is a phenomenal actress, a very underrated actress. Unfortunately, she should get way more roles than what she gets. She definitely nails every part in every role that she plays. I don't think there's a role that I've seen her in that I didn't like. And if I didn't like the role, it's probably because I just didn't like the role. Not so much of the acting on her part, but I probably just didn't like the character that she played. But I would say I like more characters that she played than she didn't. And she always plays her role to a T. She is a very, very, very great actress. The 2 girls who played Venus and Serena played those parts really well. And I have to give kudos to both of them because they had to learn how to play tennis in order to do this role. They, as far as I know, did not use any stunt doubles. Now, they probably did, but they did a lot of close-up shots with them, and they were actually, you know, hitting the ball using the racket. And I don't know about y'all, but I swung a tennis racket before I hit a tennis ball, not, just playing, for fun. It's not easy. That racket has some weight to it, and that's a lot of arm power that you got to use, and you got to make sure that you have good arm strength and that you're stretching, because if not, you can throw your arm out of socket, and that's the one thing you don't want to do. Then you have to make sure your core is right, because that's a lot of running back and forth, up and down. You have to make sure you got good eye and hand coordination so you can see the ball, because it's coming at you so fast, and it's a rhythm to it as well. So I definitely get kudos to the two young actresses who played Venus and Serena. Now, I would say that the actress that played Serena looked the most like her when she was younger. Like, you could look at her and tell, oh yeah, that's Serena right there. Not taking anything away from the actress who played Venus, but I believe that whoever casted the actress to play Serena looked most like her even as a child. But, everything was good. Like I said, it was almost like a Cinderella story. Like, you started here and you ended up here. They started in Compton and, they ended up in Florida. They had to go through a lot of different obstacles. You had to deal with people in the hood messing with you, harassing you in order to get where it is that you needed to be. It's like a true story that everybody definitely needs to see. Like, this is, like I said, this is probably one of the best movies I've seen all year. Especially outside of the comic book movies and the superhero movies and stuff like that. I think sometimes you just need a movie that's kind of mellowed out, and you just want to see something that has a great story behind it. And this movie right here has a phenomenal, and I do mean phenomenal, story behind it. It has so many parts in it. I don't want to really spoil it for anybody, because I really want everybody to go and see this movie. Some of y'all were probably waiting for me to do this review to base it off of what I had to say. But you don't even have to base it off of what I had to say, because to be honest, I already knew this movie was going to be good before I even turned on this camera. Before I even walked in that theater, I already knew this movie was going to be great. And this movie surpassed my already high expectations for it. Like, this movie was, for me, a solid 10. Like really a solid 10 for me. Richard Williams is the type of dad that I believe every black family needs. But in this society, it's the type of man and the type of father that a lot of people in the community lack, unfortunately. I'm gonna say that again. Richard Williams is the type of dad that every black family needs, but unfortunately in this day and age is the type of black man and father that but most black families lack. And I say that because it's very true. This guy went above and beyond to make sure that his daughter's dreams were met. Sure, I think some of it was his own passions, and everything like that, because, growing up at that time, he went through a lot, Jim Crow segregation and whatnot in Louisiana. He could not really do what he wanted to do, and he wanted to make sure that his daughters didn't have to go through that. And he pushed them, and look at where they are today. And one of the saddest stories that was in the movie that actually almost brought a tear to my eye was the part where he was talking about his dad had sent him to the store to go get something. And back at that time, you could not only not look at a white man, but you couldn't touch his hand. And he basically had to hand this white man some money. And he handed him some money, and his hand just kind of gently brushed across the white man's hand. I mean, you're handing money. It's like, sometimes your hands are going to touch. And the white man got so mad that he actually beat him. Mind you, at the time he was a kid, beat him, had some others come basically jump him. And then he said when he looked out into the crowd and saw his dad, he said his dad just literally drove away and left his own son there to get beat by this mob of white men because his hand just kind of gently touched this white man's hand just for passing him money. That story right there almost got me. It almost, I felt it right. Like I said, there's going to be moments in there where it's going to get you, because there's a lot of moments in this movie that is going to hit you like a ton of bricks. But all in all, this movie was great. I loved it. The story, this story is so, I almost want to see this movie again. This movie was the story. That's one thing about a movie that I love. Does this movie have a good story? Yes, we know it's a biopic, but sometimes they can mess a biopic up. Unfortunately, I don't know how that happens, but it is what it is. And I like when they do a biopic, they show clips at the end, during the credits, and you can actually see where they got or pulled inspiration from and then threw it into the movie. So I really like when they do something like that. And when you look at it and you look at the movies, oh, they got it from here, they got it from there. And then they show all the accolades and the success stories of the people that they're talking about and whatnot. And one thing I really love about this movie too is that they finally put some respect on Richard Williams' name. Because one line in the movie, he says, the world never had respect for Richard Williams, but they will have respect for you. And when he was talking about you, he was talking about Venus and Serena. Well, I don't know if Richard Williams will ever see this video, but if you are out there watching, the world then had respect for Richard Williams. And I think if they didn't know then, after they see this movie, they're going to have even more respect for him now. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Go watch this movie. That's all I have to say. And I think it's on HBO Max as well. So if you don't want to go to the movie theater and watch it, and you have HBO Max subscription, you can watch it on that as well. The movie is great, 10s across the board. Y'all let me know what y'all think.